I want you to check this out. If Donald Trump's deputy chief of staff, Stephen Miller, had it his way, the Democratic Party wouldn't exist. Slimy, smug Stephen Miller goes on Fox News 1 to 2 times per week and advocates for the most extreme possible policy while using the most inflammatory rhetoric to hype up the MAGA base, saying that the Democratic Party is a party of extremism, that we're not even a political party anymore, we're just domestic terrorists. You see his rhetoric floating downstream to people like Caroline Leavitt. Caroline Leavitt is much younger. She takes signals from people like Stephen Miller and from people like President Donald Trump. So when Stephen Miller goes on Fox News and uses insane rhetoric, and the rest of the admin follows, and the rest of the MAGA cult follows online, that is amping up the tension in American politics. And then Republicans get mad at me when I make jokes. Like there's an imbalance here that we need to fix, where liberals and people on the left are always the ones who are apologizing while Republicans are amping up the rhetoric. Let's check out what Stephen Miller said, and I want to show you what he's melting down about this week, because it is all a ploy to paint Democrats as traitors. All they do, all Republicans do, are paint their enemies as traitors. Donald Trump just did this to Marjorie Taylor Greene, and she said she was getting death threats from people in the MAGA fan base. Now, Stephen Miller is trying to paint a small group of Democrats as insurrectionists in order to paint the broader party, everybody in the party, as an extremist insurrectionist who hates the country. Stephen Miller quote tweeted a video from Senator Alyssa Slotkin the other day. Senator Alyssa Slotkin and a few other senators made videos directly to the military telling them one single line. They kept repeating, "Don't give up the ship." Now, "Don't give up the ship" is a famous U.S. naval motto, famously spoken by Captain James Lawrence in the War of 1812, and they're essentially just saying, follow the law. That's all they're saying, follow the law. Stephen Miller decides to quote tweet it and say that they are engaging in rebellion. They are calling on people to engage in rebellion. He says, 10 years after the deep state Russia hoax, top Democrats openly appeal to CIA and military officials to engage in rebellion against their commander-in-chief. Do not underestimate how dangerously radicalized the Democrat Party has become. The absolute projection is insane. Let's watch this clip. I don't want to watch the full thing. We can show you what they say throughout it, and then I want to show you the meltdown that ensued on Fox News. Take a look at this.
Alyssa Slotkin.
Senator Mark Kelly.
Representative Chris DeLuzio.
Congresswoman Maggie Goodlander.
Representative Chrissy Houlihan.
Congressman Jason Crow.
I was a captain in the United States Navy.
Former CIA officer.
Former Navy.
Former paratrooper and Army Ranger.
Former intelligence officer.
Former Air Force.
We want to speak directly to members of the military
And the intelligence community.
Who take risks each day
To keep Americans safe.
We know you are under enormous stress and pressure right now.
Americans trust their military.
But that trust is at risk.
This administration is pitting our uniformed military
And intelligence community professionals.
against American citizens.
like us. You all swore an oath.
To protect and defend this Constitution.
Right now, the threats to our Constitution aren't just coming from abroad.
But from right here at home.
Our laws are clear. You can refuse illegal orders.
You can refuse illegal orders.
You must refuse illegal orders.
No one has to carry out orders that violate the law.
Or our Constitution.
We know this is hard.
And that it's a difficult time to be a public servant.
But whether you're serving in the CIA,
In the Army,
Our Navy,
The Air Force.
Your vigilance is critical.
and know that we have your back.
because now, more than ever,
The American people need you.
We need you to stand up for our laws.
our Constitution,
And who we are as Americans. Don't give up.
don't give up.
don't give up.
Don't give up the ship.
Okay, this is something that is absolutely necessary when we have the President of the United States speaking to the Navy and saying that Democrats are gnats who need to be taken care of, like this.
But we have to take care of this little gnat that's on our shoulder called the Democrats. They want to give all of our money to illegal aliens that pour into the country. And, you know, I have a bigger heart than they do. But the problem is when you do that, they come in by the millions. Everybody wants that. So
That is the President of the United States riling up the military with violent political imagery. In this same speech, he tells the Navy stuff about Obama, tries to get them to boo Obama, get them to boo Democrats, and it gets increasingly violent. So yeah, when they're just saying, don't give up the ship, they're saying don't refuse, or you can refuse illegal orders. You can refuse illegal orders. That is quite literally part of the oath that they take is to refuse illegal orders, and Stephen Miller tries to call them insurrectionists. Let's break down what he said on Fox News. Stephen Miller said it is an insurrection plainly.
And one that you see as insurrection?
It is insurrection, plainly, directly, without question. And when you have one of the lawmakers on that video being unable to state in, as you say, lengthy cross-examination, a single so-called illegal order, it just proves the point. It's a general call for rebellion from the CIA and the armed services of the United States by Democrat lawmakers, saying that you have not only the right but the duty and the obligation to defy orders of the commander-in-chief.
Wait. That is not what it says. It says you can defy illegal orders. It even says it on screen while he's saying this. Not you can defy any order, illegal orders.
Defy orders of the commander-in-chief. That those who carry weapons in America's name should defy their chain of command and engage in open acts of insurrection, that the CIA, the clandestine service, which isn't even legally authorized to operate in the United States, should engage in, again, acts of rebellion and insurrection. These lawmakers should honestly resign in disgrace and never return to public office again for even daring to think, let alone to say these words and to
say it with me. Stephen Miller and Donald Trump do not want the Democratic Party to exist. Every single action that they take, whether it's targeting Act Blue, every single thing that they say, whether it's painting the Democrats as an extremist terrorist organization rather than an actual political entity, is going towards the erosion, the destruction of the Democratic Party. That's what they want. These lawmakers were saying something that is in the Uniform Code of Military Justice, and it's in the oath they take. American troops swear an oath to the Constitution, not to the commander-in-chief, as Stephen Miller tries to imply, not to the political party or any individual leader that gives speeches and tries to rile up the crowd. At the end of the day, they swear an oath to the Constitution, which is pretty clean-cut and clear. There are lines that you cannot pass in the Constitution. Then Stephen Miller continues to go off. I like how he gets more and more nasally and pissed off as it goes. He just gets very, very worked up and slimy about the entire political extremism that is actually bursting on his side, but he claims is happening on the left. Take a look.
There is nothing graver that you could possibly say as a United States Senator than encouraging, urging, directing members of the armed forces of the United States or the clandestine services of the United States to defy their president, defy their chain of command, defy their superiors.
You are allowed to defy the chain of command, and especially the president, if the president is going against the Constitution. He is laying the groundwork right now. He's trying to muddy the waters. If on January 6th, Donald Trump had a loyal military that he had groomed in this way, if on January 6th, Donald Trump didn't have General Mark Milley, who was a really experienced 35-year general, really respected guy in the military, if he had someone who was a little bit less experienced, and if Stephen Miller had been using this rhetoric, Donald Trump is using this rhetoric, they are trying to groom the military into disobeying orders, and all these Democrats were doing was providing some level of moral clarity during this grooming of our military that is happening by Republicans. Stephen Miller then goes on to say that the Democrats are communists. The Democratic Party is communism.
So when we say that Democrats are communists, we don't just mean that, well, they believe in the state control of property. We mean they've adopted a method of thinking in which any use of force is justified for their end state of power and control. So they become a third world party, and we have to internalize that. We're not dealing with the old Democratic Party, we're dealing with a third world party.
Say it with me. Stephen Miller does not want the Democratic Party to exist. He would like the destruction of the Democratic Party. When Donald Trump says that we're gnats that need to be taken care of in front of the military, again, you can say it with me. These people are fascists, and especially Stephen Miller. He is spearheading a lot of the most extremist policy in the White House while then swatting down any questions about the Epstein files. Listen.
Is the president signing the Epstein files bill, and is it at his desk already?
So any questions about that, I have nothing to add to today. I think the White House comm shop's already answered all those questions, yes?
Refuses to answer in this next clip. He just projects really hard and says that Democrats only care about power and keeping power.
But there's an even deeper issue here that we have to understand. The Democrat Party has reached a point of extremism where the only thing that they believe is legitimate are the things that keep them in power and that keep their policies in effect no matter the will of the public. So for
Donald Trump has been governing via executive order. He's tried to end birthright citizenship. He's tried to overwrite the Constitution via executive order on his first day. He pardoned people en masse. Everything Donald Trump does is to entrench his own political power. I don't know what party Stephen Miller sees when he sees this like strong Democratic Party that is out there, you know, like murdering people in the streets. Whatever he thinks the Democratic Party is, it's not that. Our last president was Biden. Biden had a lot of great legislative accomplishments, but he was an old dude. Our last attorney general was Merrick Garland. He was well respected as a lawyer, but he was kind of weak. Our party isn't some strong, like country-breaking party. I wish we had a little bit more oomph, but we don't.
For example, if President Trump orders an illegal alien deported, they would have their district court judges block that deportation. But if they're in power, what will they do? End the filibuster, stack the Supreme Court, appoint 10.
They said this in 2017, and then we got back into power. We had all three chambers. We had the presidency, we had Senate, we had the House, and guess what? We did not end the filibuster whatsoever. This dude is straight up lying out of his mouth, and the reason why these judges are stopping some of these deportations is because they're done without due process. Is he referring to the plane load of children that was going to leave at 2 a.m., or is he referring to Kilmar Armando Abrego Garcia, who was deported illegally against the will of a judge who said, hey, you can't deport this guy to this one country. And then they deported him to that one country where his life was at risk and he was thrown in a torture prison. Then the Trump admin had to bring him back because they said, wait a minute, we fucked up. We weren't supposed to deport him. Which case is he referring to? All of these, the judges have the clear moral high ground. I'm going to leave it there. Make sure you drop a like, subscribe. I love you all. Peace out.